in what turned out to be one of the best non-Warbond updates, or Battle Pass if you're not familiar with Helldivers. Actually was one of the best updates that came out yesterday, May 13th. And that update was the weapon customization for Helldivers 2. Not only did they add weapon customization, they also actually added stats. So now the stats for whatever attachments you add to the used weapons actually now affect the way they recoil, their accuracy, how ergonomic they are, how heavy they are, how light they are, depending on the magazine choices. And some weapons, to quickly iterate, this is only for primary weapons at the moment. They have not done anything yet for sidearms. If I remember right, watching their live stream, or not their live stream, but their video that they put out talking about this update, they are possibly working on the sidearms as well. So at the moment, this only is for primary weapons. So a lot of adjustments had to be made in order to account for some of the weapons that already came with some attachments like the pummeler and the concussive rifle. With that also came a whole bunch of new progression as well. For anyone who's already maxed out and has maxed out requisition points, nothing really left to spend on unless you're spending requisition points on the DLSS. You'll actually have opportunities now to spend your requisition points. And for those of you who are just starting off in Helldivers 2, you got to reach level 10 to actually gain access to weapon customization. And then from there, it's basically just a standard progression system for weapons. You have to level up every single weapon individually to gain access to the attachments, even though the attachments are basically the same. All the optics, all the underbarrel attachments for at least the more traditional weapons, they're all the same, but you have to level them up individually to gain access to those attachments. And then of course they cost you requisition slips, so it's a good little way to kind of use up some of your leftover requisition slips after upgrading your ship or upgrading DLSS or whatever, or contributing to the DLSS. Now the other thing too with this update was they were talking about how in future war bonds they are going to implement the new weapons, possibly even add new attachments too as part of these newer war bonds. That could mean that we might also see a larger war bond as well, rather than just 3 tiers. We might possibly see 4, maybe in 5 tiers of war bonds rather than just the 3. Because if you guys remember the original war bond that came out, the free war bond, that has, I believe, 8 or 9 tiers, while every other consecutive war bond now only has 3 tiers. So hopefully having an extra tier or so might help a lot. I mean, assuming we get an extra tier. Either way, they are going to be accounting the future weapons coming out for the weapon attachments and such. The other thing they mentioned too with the update is that not every single weapon is going to have access to every single attachment. Shotguns in particular, some shotguns only have access to optics and underbarrel attachments, as well as camo patterns. That's another thing they came out with as well with the weapon customization is you gain access to all sorts of camo patterns. Unfortunately, the camo patterns are the same for every single weapon, so not every weapon will have a unique set of camo patterns. They are the same from level 1 to level 24, but some of the specialized weapons like the flamer, or like I said, shotguns, some of those are only going to have access to camo patterns. The flamer in particular, the primary flame weapon that you get from the one of the war bonds, I can't remember which one it was, that one only has access to camo patterns. You don't have access to even optics at all for that thing, which is frankly, that's perfectly fine. I mean, it's a flame weapon. You look at it aiming down sights, you can't really see anything in front of you because all you're shooting is flames. So yeah, it kind of makes sense to not have any optics with it. Again, some shotguns only have access to optics and camos. Some will have access to optics, underbarrels, and camos. But either way, every single weapon will have access to camo patterns. So it's not a complete loss, but the camo patterns in particular, you still have to you still have to level them up just so you can get access to camo patterns. But either way, even the camo patterns kind of gives a fresh new look to some of the weapons. I know that in particular the penetrator, and I think I can't remember that other heavy weapon. It's a heavy assault rifle, only holds 30 rounds. It kind of looks like an egg shape almost. Can't remember what it's called. It's a weird looking assault rifle. I've never liked the camo pattern on it, the green and yellowish type of pattern it has, the color scheme to it. What's really neat is every single weapon will actually have an immediate access to the Helldiver camo pattern pattern, which actually kind of is more like a flat black, flat gray type thing. Makes all the weapons a little bit cooler. Two of my favorite weapons so far is the Liberator Carbine, which now is even better too, because now for those of you that have used Liberator Carbine as well as the I can't remember that SMG, but it's the SMG from the Truth and Reconciliation Warbond. There's so many Warbonds out there I can't remember, but it's a high caliber SMG, does 125 damage, has medium armor penetration, only has 25 rounds per magazine, but it's incredibly unwieldy, especially if you're not crouching or using an armor that reduces recoil pattern, or not reduces recoil pattern, but reduces recoil. Now with this update, attachments like adding a foregrip or adding a muzzle brake that kind of helps you with recoil control makes weapons like those the much more unwieldy weapons, including the Liberator Carbine, another unwieldy weapon because of its high fire rate. Now they're much more manageable, much easier to use, and a lot more viable now and against hordes and such when you get that foregrip attachment. And those foregrip attachments actually come pretty early. I think you need to be like level 7 on your weapon to gain access to a foregrip. Very nice touch. Means that more weapons, you'll have more variety in the weapons you get to choose. Unfortunately, when it comes to any crossover weapons that you have, notably the Killzone 2 weapons, we cannot modify the Killzone weapons, which really sucks because the STA-11 as well as the assault rifle from Killzone 2, we cannot modify those weapons, and those weapons are a little bit unwieldy to use as well. I know the submachine gun, the STA-11, was one of my favorite weapons from Killzone. I think Killzone 2 in particular, the multiplayer for Killzone 2 is amazing, and I loved going around getting a whole bunch of kill streaks. I was always on 20 kill streaks at a time per life with the STA-11. Really amazing submachine gun to use. Unfortunately, it doesn't have the same characteristics as it does here in Helldivers 2. A very unwieldy weapon to use unless you're using armor that has reduced recoil, or you're kneeling down on one knee, or you're going prone. Then the weapons are kind of viable, but it would be nice if they had a little bit more versatility to them. Being able to add some sort of attachment to them would have been nice, but again, they are not customizable at all. I am going to assume that any future crossover events that include weapons probably aren't going to be customizable as well, or they might just be customizable kind of just depending on what crossover they're coming from. There was that talk of the Warhammer crossover event. I mean, if that does happen and they add in a bolter weapon, obviously bolters do have some customization according to, at least when you look at the Warhammer universe, there are some bolters that do have a foregrip or like a vertical foregrip, or not a vertical foregrip, but it's a slanted foregrip, almost like an angled foregrip type thing, but it's still more of a vertical foregrip. Then you have the angled foregrips. So some of them do have something like that. They also have some very basic optics. But again, if that was to happen, if those rumors were true that there is eventually going to be a Warhammer crossover event, those weapons probably will be customizable. Now, as far as the special weapons go, they didn't really mention anything on whether or not some of the more specialty weapons like the laser weapons, the flamer weapons, that kind of thing are going to have more variety and attachments, just because of they're kind of nuanced, and they wanted to make them feel, as they are specialty weapons, they wanted to make them feel a little bit more special. A lot of those weapons, I kind of agree, they don't really need attachments. You don't need a vertical foregrip on a shotgun because it's a shotgun. You don't need an optic on a shotgun. I mean, if you want an optic on a shotgun, I mean, it's there if you want it, just to kind of make it look a little bit more tactical. The flamer, I kind of wish the flamer at least had like an optic or something, make it look a little bit cooler. But then again, it's kind of fine just having it with some camo options. I think the flamer weapons in particular are kind of strange right now. I'm catching myself on fire a lot more often than I used to. I used to love using the flame weapon. Now I'm kind of hating it because I'm just getting caught on fire way too often. I don't know why. Now, another cool thing too is, as you currently see in the background footage, depending on how I've edited this, the SMG that I'm using is the Pummeler, the concussive version of the Defender SMG. Now the SMGs also have magazine variants, so you can equip a shorty mag, you can equip the regular extended mag that they come with by default, and then there's also an extended mag, which actually is pretty cool. It looks more like a tube, and it actually sits flush with the weapon itself. So it's pretty cool that they actually gave magazine options for the SMGs in particular. I do like using the Pummeler a lot, and this means you can use that extended mag with the riot shield or the ballistic shield, make for a nice little combo. That's the other thing too with the weapon customization. They also factored in balancing changes as well to the magazines. So depending on which magazine you use, whether it's a regular, extended, shorty, or drum magazine, it's also going to affect the amount of magazines that you can carry on your person. I kind of wish that wasn't the case. I mean, it'd be nice to be able to carry more than, I think it's, if you use a drum magazine on the SMG, I think you only get 3 magazines in total, along with the one that you have currently equipped. I kind of wish that was not the case. I mean, it is a PvE game. There is no PvP in it. I mean, there is no need to factor in balancing issues when it comes to your ammo capacity. If you want to use a drum mag and still have access to, 7 or 8 more magazines, let us have that option. I mean, having a drum magazine on an SMG is going to affect the ergonomics of it. It's going to be slower when aiming down sights just because it is heavier. So that there is that whole attention to detail that they added in with this update. I mean, this update actually was fairly large as well, and I'm going to assume it's because of all those little factors besides adding in the customization itself. I mean, the stats for all these weapons, they also had to remesh a lot of these weapons, especially the weapons that already came with some attachments, like the pummeler, like the concussive rifle, and whatever other weapons out there that came with attachments. They had to actually remesh those, since now they are no longer considered part of the weapon itself. They're now considered attachments. So that's pretty neat, and that's kind of another reason why they haven't actually done anything yet with sidearms. They do plan on doing something like that with sidearms, although there aren't as many traditional type of sidearms as there are with primary weapons, because a lot of the sidearms are really specialty type sidearms, like the grenade launcher, and now the revolver looking I can't remember what it's called, but it just recently came out with that gunslinger type of Warbond update. It's a really cool revolver. It's not a laser revolver. It's still projectile based, but it does use heat sinks, so it's pretty cool. But again, with something like that, that one already actually has a small little optic to it. But when you fire it while aiming down sights, you can't really see where you're firing at, because the projectiles actually kind of take up the whole screen, or not the whole screen, but the whole entirety of your optic. So it's kind of pointless for it to be there. Either way, it's a solid update overall. Hopefully, the one other thing that they add to this update is armor customization. That's actually something I would really love to see. Although I wouldn't mind if the armor customization was kind of more basic. As far as, equip a primary armor, if you like a certain armor and you want a helmet, but the helmet doesn't match in color, I wish there was kind of a small little tweak that they can make to where you could color match the helmet to the primary armor that you're wearing. And the cape maybe could do the same thing too. I mean, there's tons of different patterns of capes. Some are really cool, but a lot of times they just don't mesh well if you're someone like me who's really into fashion and wants everything to match and be color coded properly. I mean, I'm still banking on the fact that they'll add in armor customization as well. Just there's so many different types of armor options out there now. Who knows, maybe they'll add in some more stat modifiers besides some of the more basic ones, which is increasing grenade capacity by 2, increasing your throwing distance by 30%, increasing stim capacity by 30%, or increasing your recoil, or increasing your damage resistance to grenades or gas or fire or anything like that. Hopefully there's some more stat modifiers that they can add, especially for when it comes to considering that you can also have a lot of unwieldy weapons, weapons that are slow to move around, like the heavy machine gun. Or if you start adding in drum magazines for some of your weapons, I mean, maybe there could be armor options out there that can just overall increase the ergonomics of your weapon. The sky's the limit now with this update, because it's a pretty good update for a non-Warbond update. Pretty sizable update too. I know this update actually took a while for me to download. Hopefully the new Warbond that comes out soon, I think they said the new Warbond comes out on the 16th, I think, if I remember that right. So on Friday, hopefully they have already thought ahead of the weapon attachments and everything in that Warbond, so maybe we might see some slight alterations to the tiers. Maybe we might see an extra tier that has some extra little goodies in it, camo patterns, optics and such. Hopefully the optics are more universal and not specific for the weapons in that Warbond, or if they are, I mean, that's fine too. But either way, it's a good amount. It's a good way to jump back into the game if you're looking for anything progression related. Again, they did say that it's about 500 hours worth of progression on just the main weapons alone, but that also depends on how many weapons you currently have. I know I don't have all the Warbonds. I have quite a few Warbonds, but not all of them, which means I don't have access to every single weapon currently available at the moment. That 500 hours does vary, but either way, it does give you quite a bit to do as far as grinding. It is pretty basic when it comes to progression, but it's better than nothing. Gives you something to do. All right, that about covers this update for Helldivers 2 for the weapon customization. I know it's not Rivals or Warhammer related, and I'm pretty sure this video itself was not going to do great at all. I still wanted to post it anyway. I just need to branch out a bit and cover some more games I personally like. Although all the games I cover are either going to be more like Rivals based, which is more like hero shooter type thing, or a whole lot of co-op stuff like Warhammer and obviously Helldivers 2. Either way, thanks for watching this video. We'll guys see you on the next one. Peace and goodbye.